As we all know, the chair and the vice chair are solely responsible for setting the agenda. County staff helps to facilitate the agenda and being activated, but it's the chair and the vice chair that set the agenda. It's in our charter. I have great concern with the fact that the one issue that was requested to be on the agenda that is of great importance to the greater Bodega Bay area, and that is the restoration and repair work on Highway 1, Caltrans job on Highway 1 in front of Diekman's, which is going to severely limit traffic flow to the greater Bodega Bay area for potentially months, was not allowed to be put on the agenda. Are
we on approval of the agenda here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're the discussion
phase.
So because this isn't an agenda item, you can make a statement about that during council member comment, but this is not about process, it's about approving this agenda.
Well, then what happens if we don't approve the agenda?
Right.
Then we can't move forward with the meeting.
Well, we have a community meeting. I mean, this is where, and I guess my statement is, I think that, the rules exist to ensure fairness and most of all, and access. And as we have conveyed to the county more than once, as Beth said, this is an issue of critical importance. The whole purpose of CMAQ is both to gather information and disperse information. This falls into that category. So if it is a problem having our invited guests speak beyond the 2-minute threshold, I move that we reject the agenda, terminate the meeting. We can reconstitute the meeting once our guest has an opportunity to share the information that's of importance. But I've got to tell you, this is ridiculous, personally. The rules are meant to facilitate, not to suppress. And this, obviously, there's no intent to suppress, but that is in effect what the rule is doing.
Yeah, and I understand where you are coming from, but we do have to stick with the Brown Act because this is a county Brown Act body. And so we really have to be very mindful of not veering from that because there could be consequences.
Well, equally, there are consequences by not allowing members of the community access to information that most of us view as absolutely essential. So, and the consequence is, I think it would be unfortunate to adjourn the meeting before it actually has begun. But if that's the rule, I certainly am prepared. I defer to my other council members as to what they think would be most productive.
Does anyone else have any comments? Discussion items?
Public?
Not yet.
Not yet.
On the agenda.
We can find a way for this person to talk today. It won't be a presentation. Your point is well taken. I'm glad both of you have made this point for the record. I would support continuing the meeting.
Yes.
And getting this information out, but I agree with both John and Beth that we're the ones who set the agenda and determine what the time length of the meeting is. This is an important issue that was skipped or prohibited.
Look, I want to be clear because I was at the center of some of this, and I don't think this all falls to Debbie or the county. It was about coordinating and ensuring that this all would come together, and that did occur, and I'll take responsibility for that later in the process than it might have. But nonetheless, this was requested to be an agenda item.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Scott, very much for your support and for your opinions on this.
Okay, we'll put this to a vote.
Can the community
Public
speak
comment.
at this?
Before you vote, you can take public comment.
I
Yes.
think Debbie's point was that it should be taken up under item 5. And rather than now, I think that was your point, wasn't it?
Public comment we will have a time for public comment.
But for council.
Oh, and council member comment, we can't have a discussion, but it's already happened, but
Yeah.
that would have been a better place for that
That's-
Well,
particular.
we can have a
discussion.
discussion on the approval of the agenda.
Right, and so,
The action.
right.
And we did. So we've made.
So
our
was
point.
there a motion?
No, there is no motion.
Is there any motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda with the caveat that our guest, which has critical information to share, be not limited to 2 minutes. I don't think we're talking about 20 minutes, but I don't think 2 minutes is adequate to fulfill the ask or the need for the information.
I
No, that would
second
be a
that
Brown
motion.
Act violation.
Well, then the alternative.
How is that a Brown Act violation?
Yeah, well, what you could do, Chair, is you can choose to extend the length of public comment for every public's comment.
Okay,
You could do that.
there's a solution.
So
That is
that's
something.
not the, okay, well, in
That-
discussion, we'll get to this. Anyway, I second John's motion.
So it sounds like we can accommodate this, which is terrific.
Yeah, the length of
Yep.
time for guest speakers is at the discretion.
At the discretion of the chair.
Could I just have a brief show of hands? Who wants to give a public comment today? 1, 2 people. Okay. 10 minutes.
That's great.
I think, Scott, the way to do this is to make an amendment to the motion. If I understand.
Well, the motion is to,
The chair
Oh,
has
yeah.
discretion
yeah,
when it comes to
absolutely.
public
Oh, it
comment
does? We
time
don't
to
have
say
to-
everybody, that doesn't have to be.
Right.
That is a motion. to-
Right.
Okay,
So we have a motion from John, a second from Beth.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need to do a roll call.
No, were there any
Are there any
exceptions?
nays?
Okay.
Abstentions?
No names.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, so we'll move on. Just regarding the things that we are talking about here tonight, does any board member have a conflict of interest they would like to reveal? Okay, none of those. Approval of the June 17th minutes is under the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I have a comment on the minutes.
Yeah.
The sheep creek,
Sheep said
sheep's head should be, sheep house.
sheep house.
That's the name of it.
The name is wrong?
I think so.
That's on page 3 of the minutes.
Yeah. I need 7 of them.
Yeah, item 7.
Are you sure? It's sheep house?
That's my understanding, but
Okay, well,
it's
Did you
sheep house
write that?
creek, sheep house creek, not sheephead creek.
Okay,
Okay.
right.
we can look around.
I'll double check, Ginny, and I'll get back in touch with you if I find something different, but thank you for flagging that.
okay,
Sheep
That's
house.
thank you. Minutes. We don't have a comment.
Was there a motion?
There was not. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded,
Second by George, all in favor,
Right?
all opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
I have to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, okay, so Beth will abstain. You can, if you watch the meeting or if you're allowed to, but you can.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and we can zoom in the future.
and
Right.
I got feedback from Tracy and you're right, Jenny, it's sheep house.
Sheep house.
Double checked it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Okay.
Council member comment on matters not listed on the agenda. I'm particularly interested in what the hot issues are in your area. George, do you have anything for us?
no, I don't.
Ben?
So, my comments are gonna be twofold. The first is gonna be again, the location of the meeting helps to dictate the subject matter is then the agenda that's discussed. And whatever is the most pressing in the community at that time is supposed to be front and center. And I ask that that be adhered to going forward. It's very important for our communities. We just had the back and forth on my opinion on the agenda and the fact that the Caltrans project, if that had been listed in the agenda, then more people would have come to this meeting to hear about it. I am also frustrated that the situation at Spud Point hasn't had more airtime. I think that's very important. Our fishing community, the community on the head, they need very much to be respected. They have already been completely ignored regarding the spur of west side of Bay Flat Road that has been abandoned. And people cannot traverse that road in bad weather. That is yet to be addressed after many requests to do so. So that's all I've got at the minute.
I would just say, if any of us has an issue that they want to bring up that is hyper local and important, please let either me or John know. So when we set the agenda, we do that.
Thank you.
And I just want to chime in, with the agenda, there needs to be a couple of weeks lead time just due to the process that it takes to post and remediate, make the agenda legible for the ADA requirement before we put it up onto the website. So there are some time limits for that. And then regarding the Caltrans project, I actually connected with Supervisor Hopkins about this. And her recommendation was, and I spoke with Che this morning, to connect folks with Caltrans, because this is not a county project and Caltrans isn't here. And it would make most sense, and we can help facilitate that connection so that Caltrans can come in and do a town hall, because the county really just doesn't have jurisdiction over that.
County has complete jurisdiction of the flow of emergency services. And when Highway 1 is blocked with 2 miles of tourists on either way, and our fire engines and first responders not get through, and somebody dies, I assure you the county will be held accountable for that. And the county has the responsibility of bringing all of this to the public's knowledge. And this isn't new. This has been a discussion for months, and it should have been preloaded by county staff that was an agenda item tonight.
Okay, thank you. Keating?
Just that I'm hoping we hear from the county about the meeting that relates to the camping out at, or proposed camping. on the-
Speak up, please. We're having trouble hearing you in the bathroom.
Do we have where's the mic? Do we have that?
There's no microphone.
Okay, sorry about that. I will start again and speak up. Thank you. I am hoping to hear from the county about when there will be a public meeting to go over the information regarding the status of the camping out at Spud Point in the marina area that was being proposed to happen. I was told a month ago when we had our meeting in Timber Cove that there would be a meeting in the fall. TBD was the date, and so I hope we hear about an update or a scheduled planned meeting to have more information about that. Because apparently the CMAC is not at all involved. There's a separate body that overlooks that, and we don't interact with that body, and that body doesn't interact with us, so we don't have any insight into how that's going and what the mechanisms are.
In fact, we had no idea there was another body.
Is this body a county?
This isn't a conversation time. This is a council member comment. We can't have discussions
Amongst ourselves, we can't have discussion?
So I'm just hoping for an update. That's what I'm.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank
I'll
you.
get in touch with you.
Good.
It's a Spud Point Marina Advisory Committee. And I can get their agenda listings so that you can all track that if you're.
Well, I can ask county staff, it's an information item I'm asking. Are they a county
Yes,
approved the organization?
yeah, it's
Then
through regional
why-
parks. They're an agency. I'll send the,
That's not the same as CMAX.
I'll get the information.
Thank you very
so
much.
You can follow it, yeah.
Good. Ken, anything from Annapolis you'd like to share?
Welcome.
My name's Ken Spacek. I live in Annapolis. And I grew up on the coast, Manchester and Point Arena. So I've been around the area a long time. When I was growing up, it was the old growth logging days, and my family had a big sawmill. And I kind of know a lot of history about the coast, fishing, hunting, you know, what happened, you know, along the way with, especially the river. The chairman of the board of the Gualala River Watershed Council for the last 30 years. So I was one of the original people that started it. And I'm a member of the Annapolis Historical Society. And I'm on the council for the Gualala River Estuary through RCLC, Redwood Coast Land Conservancy. And I have been on the council at the Horcon School.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
great, thank you. And the drive,
And you can't bail now. You've been sworn in.
great. John,
I just would like to again request, this will be now the fourth time that the county provide a detailed update and a forum for discussion around the Carrington Ranch. This item was raised by members of the community. It was revealed during just an open town conversation. There was a presentation to the MAC now almost a year ago. Representative Hopkins suggested, it was her suggestion, given there was still work in progress, that within a few months there be an update and an open community meeting. And as I said, this is now the fourth and very public request that the county facilitate an update on the Carrington Ranch project.
Thank you.
That's it.
thank you. Wow, let's see. For our audience, we're looking for a representative from the Jenner area. Been difficult to find somebody, so if you happen to know a person who's engaged in their community, speak to the issues there, it'd be really nice. It would help a lot. Since none of us are from there, we don't know them. So anyway, that's one thing. And as far as my other thing was, I would encourage our members to keep an eye out for an alternate. I was fortunate to find somebody in my community, but at this point, that's pretty much the only one we have. And it's not just covering meetings, it's training the next generation, the next cycle. That's two things. The third thing is, I think my term ends with the calendar year, something like that. You know, John and I will keep doing this, but if anybody else wants to get in the queue, please talk to one of us and we'll line you up, and, you know, happy to give somebody else the opportunity to do this. So that's my comments. Okay, now, public comments. I would ask you to limit your discussion to 5 minutes. And you don't need to use it all. So, Mr. Farmer, go ahead.
I'm ready to speak 2 minutes.
Okay.
Speak slowly.
Yeah. Scott Farmer, Cruise Ranch. We have been challenging Sonoma County human and by implication, health services to reach further and into our coastal communities to better identify needs and to serve them. We are getting older. Casidero's median age is 42.9. Vega Bay is 51.4. Timber Cove 56.1. Jenner 63.8. Bodega Bay, or Bodega 68.5. And the Sea Ranch's median age is 70.2 years old. Half are older. In all fairness, if we don't ask, we won't receive. Sonoma County Human Services Department, Adult and Aging Division, is offering us a way to be heard. I quote from their recent announcement. The Sonoma County Area Agency on Aging is conducting its community needs assessment, and they want to hear from you. Your input helps guide funding, programs, and services for older adults, adults with disabilities, and caregivers across the county. The survey takes 5 to 10 minutes and is completely anonymous, end quote. May not feel that you are needy now or ever, but creating a community profile is necessary as things change for you and for all of us. Go to their online survey at, and I'll read it for the record, https://www.surveymonkey.com/r/JKJY77K. It will be open through September. I ask that this link be made more broadly available to our communities through District 5 channels and by each MAC rep to their communities directly. If we remain silent, who do we blame? Ask and you shall receive, right? And this was projected by the District 5 bulletin. And I'm hoping through the next 2 months that we could continue to put out there and just get the word out, because they don't know how to serve us if they don't understand us. And this is our chance, and in fairness to them, they're trying. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
We had asked Shona Campbell, who was elected president of the Chamber of Commerce in 2023 and has served in that capacity. And she was the person, I think, that pulled the community together to work with Caltrans. And so I thought it would be of interest for all of us to understand a little bit about what the process was and what the current go forward plan is from your perspective. Thanks, Shona.
Thank you very much for letting me speak. Yes, my name is Shauna Campbell. I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Bodega Bay, as you said. In April 17th, I was made aware of the intention of the Caltrans to start a project right around Memorial Day, which would involve taking over Diekman's, closing the highway down to 1 lane, and it would take approximately possibly 6 to 8 weeks. At that time, I immediately called, I wrote a letter or an email to Linda Hopkins, Supervisor Hopkins. I also wrote a letter to the contact for Caltrans, who was Jeff Weiss at the time. I spoke with Supervisor Hopkins, and she had given me some suggestions on contacting emergency services. I told her that what I thought was going to be not only an economic impact, but just that from a safety standpoint of our visitors. And I'm a resident here at Bodega Bay. So we did find out after I finally got a hold of Jeff. After it wasn't just me, there were a group of people that got together, and we talked to Gary as well. Gary that has Diekman's. He met with Jeff, not Jeff, but one of the Caltrans people, and they're taking over his entire parking lot. They're also going to dig a trench. Apparently, we've known that, so there is no way to open it at other times. So the last I heard from Jeff Weiss was probably about 2 months ago. He said that they were going to postpone it until after, he said approximately maybe the very end of August to September. I asked to just be updated to make sure that was still a progress, so I could just make sure that everyone knew. And I asked that we could have some sort of a conversation with the community, with not only community business owners, but the community and residents ourselves. I was told that it wouldn't start until probably September, again later. And my most recent comment, conversation with him, that, like I said, a couple of months ago, left messages. I just called last week. I was out of town, and he's retired. So The good news about this is the gentleman, there's an interim person, his name is Victor, and I'm probably not gonna say his name correctly, Gautier. He is a North Bay Regional Branch Chief. He was very responsive. He called me back in about 5 minutes, which I was very impressed with. And he said that I gave him my email. He emailed me. I sent him an email just asking for an update. He said he would give me an update as soon as he could. He hoped to get it to me by today, but he wasn't able to. And then I also called Che, who had let us know as a community that he meets regularly with Caltrans. And I know that he had a meeting today with Caltrans, and I had asked him to please let us have an update and for him to call me. As soon as his meeting was over, he was able to tell me that he had no information because they didn't have any information themselves. I'm concerned just because I know that there's multiple repairs going on 116. So once again, there's no way for emergency vehicles to get through. And although we are very busy, because I have 2 businesses, I've taken surveys with all of most of our members. I mean, this is our busy time, but it also goes all the way up until October. There's no doubt that we have an influx of visitors, and we just need to be ahead of the game, have a game plan, know what's happening, because there will be lives lost if there's not a plan, that's for sure. And yes, it will impact the businesses, but I live here and I see how much that traffic goes back and forth, the emergency services, and we need to have a plan for it. So I think it's a very serious situation, and I hope that I can have a better update. If anybody wants to sign up for an email, I will be posting as soon as I hear from them. I will follow up with Victor on Friday, and if anybody would like to sign up, go to the chamber website. Just email. I'm Shauna, Shona. There's 2 of us here in town, but if you want an update, we will certainly send you our newsletter and update you. So we will try to have a community meeting too, as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comments on items not on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Supervisor Hopkins, are you?
Supervisor Hopkins is not here. In her stead, I will be providing the county update. One of the items actually is something that John spoke to about the Carrington Ranch update.
Great.
So we have reached out to regional parks, and there is nothing new to report regarding the Carrington Ranch Master Plan since the September Coast Map meeting. Staff continues to evaluate community feedback, including concerns related to access, wildfire risk, water supply, project scale. Our office will stay in touch with regional parks and will share new information, study results, or outreach opportunities. So the update for Carrington Ranch is that there is no news at this point. I also, Tracy heard the question about Spud Point and sent me some notes because Supervisor Hopkins did speak to this at the June meeting, and the Sonoma Marina Advisory Committee is the agency that meets and discusses this. So I will get that information out so that, and I'll include it in the minutes so that folks that want to track that issue are able to do so. And then finally, at the last meeting, we had some discussion about the community engagement outreach efforts, and I went ahead and created the Google form so that you all can, at your convenience, start uploading outreach contacts to that so that we have a directory. So once that fills up a little bit, it'll be a work in progress. We'll always be able to add to it at any time. But as soon as we have a good number of them, then I can make a PDF directory to share out. And then as it gets updated, I can share that out again. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie, for doing that.
Thank you.
I have a question of staff. It's information. So I take full responsibility of the fact that I got behind on my CMAC email and I did not read about the meeting for June. But there's normally not a meeting in June, so why was that plugged in June?
Well, we couldn't make a quorum in May because there weren't enough people available.
Oh,
we-
so it was an extension
It was
of
just a
the May,
change.
thank you very
It
much.
was a change date, so
Got it.
instead of having a meeting in May.
Got
we had a
it,
meeting
thank you
in
very
June.
much, that makes sense. Again, I own the fact
Mhm.
that I did not take care of that, thank you.
And on the outreach, I would ask that should one of those people contact you about it, you know, some issue, that you would let us know. And so we know what's going on in our community and we can help. If, you know, because the people we're gonna send you names of are key players in the community. And if they have something that needs to go to county, we need to know about it. So if you would include, you know, loop us in on that discussion.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. If there's anything, you know, that's an agenda topic or something for that matter, yeah, I would definitely connect them with you know, the appropriate folks, whether it's
Yeah, the
people
appropriate rep.
the appropriate rep.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
We
we
can-
can make those connections.
And we can
yeah.
help them, you know,
Yeah.
shape their presentation to county. Or, you know, how their discussion goes and help coach them.
And lessen the load on county staff if we know where to direct them.
Yep, yeah, or answer the questions
Mhm.
or, you know, anything like that, so. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Is that it for update?
That's it for the update.
Did you
I'm
have
not
comments?
as eloquent as Supervisor Hopkins, sorry.
I did, and I realize and perhaps this is not workable, but when there were council member comments and issues, you asked issues of concern. I realized I did not mention one thing. Would it be permissible if I could just go back to item 5 very, very briefly and add an item? Or is that not going to work?
You could raise them.
Just ask the question.
It's just raising the, it's just conveying, you would pose the question, what's not in the community? I've had the opportunity to chat with a couple of people that are working and supporting our local food distribution efforts. And there are several within the Bodega Bay geography. And they have conveyed that they have seen a huge increase in people in need for supplemental and you know, if you will, access to food specifically. And I do think that one of the things we may want to consider for a future MAC conversation is a repeat of what was done about 1.5 years ago, where the various independent nonprofits and community organizations actually came together at a MAC meeting and presented, and really to get an update from the folks that are on the front line of need. But it was a disconcerting conversation to hear these folks who have been committed for a long period of time in terms of supporting and assisting members of the community with food, that the demand has just shot up, and it does correspond obviously with federal action relative to SNAP and other programs that now are requiring much greater sort of documentation and scrutiny. So that is an item that with the chair's permission, I'll follow up on. The rest of the group thinks that may be of use. So, okay, thank you for letting me back up a second on that.
This is a discussion.
Yep.
So you can tell. One other thing to follow on this, to remind everybody, last meeting we approved Zooming for members. And that counts as a quorum. I don't know the exact mechanism yet, but we can do it. So, we may well have our next meeting at Sea Ranch. And if that's the case, you can Zoom. I would encourage you to come in person if you possibly can, because it's a better discussion, but still, it's a nice alternative.
Thank you. That will be very helpful.
And how we're gonna do that is, we'll hear about that. Anything else? Any other questions for the update?
Can I make an observation?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know if this is the right moment. I noticed on Route 1 on the way between north of Bodega Bay, they're putting in a conduit for fiber.
Right.
And I'm very excited. I'm sure a lot of people are very excited, but I don't know what the timeline is and where, how long it will be. And I just wanted to share that observation because I know we can have a discussion, but in case you didn't know, we did see the conduit going in.
You guys know.
Thank you for that. I've got
Yeah.
a lot of questions and I
yeah,
didn't. So
I can
thank
get
you.
more
That's-
information to you about that. I have seen that come across my radar, but it's not my, my.
Yeah, because on my daily
but
walk, I saw.
Yeah, there is some
doing, and I
conduit
said, oh,
facility,
it's up here.
but we can't right now. It's not on the agenda. I will get you some information for that.
Just an observation.
Yeah, thank you.
But it's a question to you.
We did.
But it's not on the agenda. Thank you.
No, but this is the discussion of the county update.
Yes.
So we can do this. Yeah, and we had, we conduit.
We conduit, that's it.
We had them,
A while ago, yeah.
it was a while ago, and my understanding is they're north of here.
Yeah.
I can get information to all of you about that, but
Thank you.
because it wasn't on the agenda, we should not have this
Right,
be having
right.
this discussion
Correct.
right now.
And not
Thank you.
discuss it, just observe it.
Right.
That's it.
That's it for
Any more
county
questions
update.
on county update? Okay,
Public,
I'm sorry?
us, can we ask a question
Oh, yes, you can ask a question of the
Question of staff,
updater,
yes.
of the update.
of staff? Yeah,
Yes, I mean,
If I have the answer.
if Supervisor Hopkins
If it's,
is here,
if Supervisor Hopkins here, she does take questions, but if you have
But you can-
something that you think I know.
well, I was hoping maybe you, in this presentation, would include maybe a little bit on West County EIFD. So that people are aware of it, and I have this observation and maybe confirmation that the long-term tax effect would be to public entities like firehouses that rely on county funds. Their funding would erode as a percentage of total property tax.
That's not my understanding, but I'm not an expert on that, and what I would recommend is, on the District 5 website, there is a, page called, Key Topics and Links, and there is a write-up on the EIFD, and you can read that, and if you still have questions, I would refer you to the county executive's office, because they are actually managing that, not our office. And I
Could you give a 3-sentence explanation of what this is that we're talking about?
what an enhanced infrastructure financing district is, it's similar to the former redevelopment funding. So, it's tax increment financing so that certain areas within unincorporated West counties were selected. And then as development happens in those areas and the tax increases, a portion of that increase in tax, instead of it all going to the county is gonna give it back to those communities within the EIFD to use. And then the EIFD, the Public Financing Authority, which was formed, which is the body that oversees this, they can also, once that money starts to appear, they can use that to then like do matching grants or go into bonding, so they don't have to wait until all of that money comes. It's a way to increase the ability to fund key public infrastructure. And then through the documents on the EFD, you can that have been published, you can see what the structure is and what will be allowed to be used for that.
So it's very defined.
It's very defined.
Okay, thank you.
There's something here too, if you go, correct, if you go to,
But because this is county update, we can't have it, yeah, EIFD is not on the agenda.
No, I know
But
that.
if it's an information
It's
piece,
where he can get the information from. If you go to the district,
I can, yeah,
it's all there, and there've been hearings on the EIFD, and you can get a lot of information. You may have seen
I'm
that.
going.
Okay.
Thank you. Just to share.
Great. Any more questions on that? Okay.
Hi, folks. Voice of the computer here, Tracy Lyons, from Supervisor Hopkins' office. I just wanted to note that there is a West County EIFD public hearing on August 19th from 6 to 7:30. And that will be held at 16390 Main Street in Guerneville. That's at West County Service Center.
Great.
That's the updated date, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Great. And you said that's a hearing?
yes, it's a public hearing of the Public Financing Agency to finalize
Of the draft.
the draft EIFD.
The hearing on the draft.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you for that additional information. Well, let's move on to something fun.
So I think Cecily is going to go first. You want to just, can we plug in? Oh, well, I guess you can go to the, to the podium there. I'm gonna turn this on. Yes, this will, as soon as it warms up. And then I want to ask you, when you turn this, so that if you go into, the Zoom and you go to the audio and then just say disconnect from, go to audio settings. Oh, wait, no, it was just above that, so we put, leave computer audio. That'll make sure that we don't have feedback. Let's just have to warm up a minute. We'll be here soon.
Trying to set it so y'all don't have to see all my notes. There are no notes. Good evening, I'm Cecily Condon. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning for Permit Sonoma. And tonight I'm going to give a really brief presentation on the current vacation rental program here, focused mostly on the coastal zone. And then I'll be switching off midway through. So in this quick presentation, I'm going to just explain how a vacation rental is defined, where they're allowed, what the required permitting structure is, what the operating standards are, enforcement and how to file a complaint, and then coastal policy and future considerations, being that this is unique to the coastal zone. And the primary purpose of the actual PowerPoint is that now Debbie has it and there's some very useful links. So a vacation rental is a single family dwelling, a whole house rental, or a whole house plus a guest house, rented for periods of less than 30 days, subject to transient occupancy tax. So what a hosted rental is not is, or a vacation rental is not the hosted rental, which would be like you're staying in the house and also renting out a room to guests. That's a different program and a little bit simpler because those don't have quite the community impacts that you might see with a whole rental that has these additional operating standards. It's also separated from bed and breakfast, hotels, motels, farm stays, timeshares, and anything that would be rented for a period of greater than 30 days.
Is the 30 days in a row or per year or?
30 consecutive days.
Consecutive days.
Yeah. That's the definition of transient.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, though. All right. So vacation rentals are allowed in one single family dwelling per property throughout the coastal zone. And they are prohibited on parcels which are subject to the Williamson Act, which is a land conservation contract that restricts the property to additional agricultural expectations of use. It is not allowed in accessory dwelling units, so anything that's a designated second dwelling unit, grading unit, any of those additional density units are not allowed to be operated as vacation rentals. And it's not allowed in anything that is otherwise a deed restricted or covenant restricted unit. So that would be something like, you know, a farm family housing or designated affordable housing, which we do have some of in the coastal zone of Florida. So to get a permit for a vacation rental, it requires essentially a few different steps. So we're going to have a property management certificate that gets issued to whoever the designated property manager is prior to your application. Then you'll be applying for a zoning permit, which has some very specific standards to it, which is essentially where we double check that your unit is eligible, everything else works out for the site, that you have the septic and all those things that are necessary for the physical house to be used as a vacation rental. You'll have to get your transient occupancy tax number that's filed with the TOT office, and also a vacation rental license in order to operate the use. Now, these licenses are required for all vacation rentals, and they must be renewed annually. So that is an annual check that once you get the permit, you need to keep coming back and saying, yes, we have the same property manager. We still meet these standards. There haven't been violations. This is what we need to move forward. So the one exception I would note here again, with the coastal zone is properties that were legally operating between 2018 and 2023 on documentation, so filing that TOT, wouldn't be subject to that zoning permit requirement. But that exception only lasts until the property is sold. So this doesn't run with the land. So a vacation rental permit is unique to the operator, which is a little bit different than most of our other land use permits and contexts. That when you can't sell a vacation rental, you're selling a house, and whether or not they can use it as a vacation rental is going to be dependent on the rules at the time that they apply for this.
Oh, one thing,
Of course.
there are some tax districts up here that have different rates for rentals and additional units and that kind of thing, just as a heads up. I know Coast Life Support District, the ambulance district, has different parcel tax rates for different kinds of land use, I guess, if you will, that people should be aware of. If you're gonna be collecting TOT, then those places would also be probably collecting an increase tax for their thing as well.
Yeah, that may be so. I actually don't have the pricing structure for the
Yeah.
transient occupancy tax. It's something that we require for you to get the permit, that it's not managed through Permit Sonoma. But it's a separate assessment.
This is super helpful. Do you know how many vacation rental licenses exist in the coastal zone?
I'm gonna have to follow up, when I give the final PDF of this presentation, I'm gonna follow up with those numbers with Debbie on Monday.
Oh, great.
I was trying to pull them today and I couldn't grab it. I was grabbing the LCP numbers, which, you know, it was an estimated, that there were several hundred out here at that time. We since have some additional information. One of the other things that it does affect, our numbers right now is because of this exception, of when you could have been operating to not require that permit. There isn't a sunset date on when you need to apply for that permit. So it's not like you're losing the exception by not getting it. And so there's a lot out there that are paying TOT that haven't come in yet, for those zoning permits. They have come in for, maybe the licensure that's required to do the operation. But it kind of skews our number at this point because they don't match. We're dealing with two different sets of numbers from pre-2023 and.
Right, and the other related question, and I can appreciate, there's, how you slice the data, that's the art of all this, but do you have any sense is participation or the availability of authorized rentals, is it increasing or decreasing year to year?
So it will be decreasing with the new program in effect because of the fact that the old process in the coast was you registered for TOT, you were operating. Now, that doesn't mean that those registrations all met our definition of what a vacation rental is now today. So there are a lot of properties that we know about that had more than one unit per property, which will be allowed to continue operation until that permit's either revoked or that property transferred.
Right, got it.
So ultimately, there will be fewer permits in the future, just because there are some that maybe would have multiples that wouldn't be considered today.
Thanks.
Do you have data on what the gross number, dollar amount is that the county is seeing from the TOT in our area and in other areas?
You're gonna have.
We don't get it, right?
Why not?
We, Sonoma County Tourism, because we're not the county.
Well, the county has the information, and so I guess the question is, why isn't the county sharing it?
I think that information is available, but not where
Okay,
in
yeah.
the county it's coming
Yeah.
from. Because Airbnb sends it as one lump sum and they don't say, right? I think we've tried to get that, and Airbnb has been.
What I'm trying to untangle from the data that I'll be providing, following up on.
Oh, that's great.
Is as much as we can for the local data to this region. That's the reason for the delay in trying to get that information.
And I mean, the reason I think there's interest in this topic is obviously those of us that live here know that the vacation rental community is significant and it helps power local businesses. So it's there's no negative or positive attached, but it does put additional strain on services, and given taxes being collected, we want to be sure that those dollars are proportionately flowing back to the communities that are bearing the cost of the vacation rentals. And I think there is a general sense that for a variety of reasons, I'm not suggesting anything inappropriate, but this has been a topic, my understanding is this has been a topic of interest for a multi-year period. And so I guess I'm interested in who is the ultimate determiner of what information is collected.
So related to the tax, it's the tax office. So
well, who does the tax office report to then?
Well, they ultimately report to the board.
So it's within the Board of Supervisors' power to theoretically require this information and for it to be distributed to the communities that are impacted.
Sharon Nichols did it 5 years ago. He found it from the register of the map.
Okay, well, look, I mean, this is part of the reason we asked you to join us, and we appreciate the information. Yeah.
And actually, the only reason I'm thinking of moving on with the presentation
Yeah,
at this moment is that at the end, I'm going to talk about what kind of data we need for future policy considerations here in the coastal zone.
Terrific.
So with that, we do this. There are several reasons we have some discrepancy between the numbers of how many vacation rentals are actually out here on the coast. And that's information I'm going to try and pull together for all of you. And it's also information that I'm going to try to pull together for future code implications as well. So the primary operating standards for a vacation rental are related to typically what we would generally consider nuisance standards. So noise, lighting, trash, recycling, and then of course, safety standards being one of the number one issues out here. So we've got solid fuels, no fireworks, maintaining defensible space and emergency access, evacuation. So when we get vacation rental permits, we send that notification out also, not only to the neighbors with the information about the standards and what's required and how to contact that operator in case there's any reason to believe they're not complying with those standards. But we also send those to the local fire protection authorities in the cases of these permits. And they also need to always, provide their renters with the actual evacuation information, make it really clear that they have to have the instructions for identifying where they are and when they have to evacuate, and how to actually contact people in the case of emergency. So having a phone and NOAA radio are both essential. And these are all built into the operating standards. We do have a dedicated 24/7 enforcement hotline. That number was recently updated in the last year, and it's on this, and it's going to be on one of the resource slides at the end of this presentation. There's the fire inspections, which are required, but are a result of our notification to the fire districts. And then, of course, there are significantly costly penalties if there is a violation, and it can ultimately result in revocation or suspension of a license. So one of the things that changed in the last few years is we switched from only having the zoning permit to also having that license program, which is governed under Chapter 4 of the county code rather than the other regulations, which are all in the zoning code. And the key difference here is that Chapter 4 does allow for suspensions rather than full revocation, which if to be done under Chapter 26 would mean we'd have to have a public hearing every time. And it's a bigger process. So we can suspend it, allow somebody to fix the problem, and then reauthorize with a significant quicker urgency and response time on our end. This is an example of another tool that we have available that shows where the vacation rentals that we have mapped are. So this is just a, gotta go local example of what that's gonna look like. But again, I also have the link so that you can see where the vacation rental permits are. And then there's some of these other tools like cap areas and exclusion areas that don't currently apply in the coast, but that's going to be something that we can just talk about what the horizons might be in a moment. So here's those helpful resources. I'm not going to spend time on this now, but just know that you all will have a copy of this presentation. All right, so those inland tools like cap areas, which are designated to typically 5 or 10% of the neighborhood density being allowed for vacation rentals, those currently are not integrated into the coastal zoning code. During our local coastal plan development back in 2022 and 2023, development of short-term rentals and preservation of short-term rentals were generally viewed by the Coastal Commission as coastal access, to the point where we got into an argument with the Coastal Commission, and I would like to say it was anything but an argument, but it was, about whether or not we could actually limit short-term rentals in accessory dwelling units. Everything else aside, they were pushing back against our policy language, limiting them in accessory dwelling units. We got it through. It was all good. And then since then, they do seem to have opened up to the idea that there may be some potential resource constraints in the coastal zone. And they have adopted a few different cap zones in different communities in the coast since the date that our original LCP was adopted and certified. So a good example, I think, for us is to look at Santa Cruz County and Del Mar, where they have these density type considerations for how many vacation rentals you can have. So it's not something that's in the immediate program, but it is something looking forward as a tool that could potentially be considered here, which is sort of breaking news in my world, because up until 2024, 2025, any restriction on vacation rentals in the Coastal Commission's eyes was really glaringly sort of inconsistent with the Coastal Act. So that's no longer the case, though they do still, of course, want a data-driven process, which is why we're looking at things like what are the total available overnight accommodations? Are there other hotel beds, camping beds, spaces for people to be staying so that we can, you know, reserve some housing stock and keep and maintain some kind of balance that's not going to be prohibitive to coastal access. So those numbers may look different out here on the coast than they look inland. We don't know what that data looks like yet. But those are the types of things that they want to see when they're considering those restrictions. Yes.
I'm assuming that the one map you showed us was just a snapshot of one part of Bodega Bay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that because there are so many nooks and crannies that we.
Oh, yeah, and actually, real quick, please don't look because I don't want anyone to get motion sick. Here we go so this is more just a heat map of where we have vacation rentals countywide. And yeah, you can definitely see we've got this, it's all an indiscernible blue blob here. You get all the way up to the Sea Ranch, they have their own program. And it's another indiscernible blue blob.
Terrific, thank you.
I love it, blue blob.
Very technical.
I love it, yeah.
And that does my formal presentation. I'll go ahead and stop the share and move over. And like I said, D5 will have all these slides available. You'll have those resources. And I'll be following up with as much as I can get granular about the situation snapshot today. Now that we've started opening up some of the permits here, that'll be great. And then I don't know if we want to take questions generally now or if we
I'd
want to
like
wait
to
for the other
field
time.
questions for you.
But from the council.
From the council.
But for public comment, there's one public comment period, so
Yeah.
you're able to stick around, right? Okay, yeah.
So, may I ask a question? So it sounds like you're trying to get your arms around the complexities regarding the number of permits for vacation rentals, and you're still unclear about what kind of money that's pulling in, either county-wide or region-wide. Will there be a plan, and how will we be able to be updated on the progress as that comes together through your efforts?
So Permit Sonoma doesn't manage the tax funding or the tax allocations, but our process to identify if we want to make zoning code changes for things like considering different cap areas of how many vacation rentals, like what's the carrying capacity of vacation rentals in a specific area. That will inevitably lead to some of the information on you know, what type of income is being generated from these permits. So that could inform tax discussions and inform you all bringing forward you know, concerns over making sure money stays local, those kinds of things. But we don't, other than our permit fees, we don't handle the money in any way, shape. But in order to stay involved in our process, if we're gonna be taking on some policy work related to short-term rentals here in the coast, which it will happen, I just don't know when it will happen. That'll be information that will be directed through our work plan, through the Board of Supervisors. And since I've seen many of you before, I will say we tend to be here quite frequently when we're in those processes. And so one of our early steps of engagement, if we're thinking about new regulations, is going to be for us to be here with you. So that would be kind of the first step for how to stay informed on that.
I'd like to go last. So you guys go before me.
I just wanted to say thank you. I think this has been the clearest presentation of the data in this fewest number of slides that I've had the pleasure of being present for. So just very well done. Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight and sharing this. Thank you.
Is it possible to put this on your website, your PowerPoint presentation, so we could share it with our communities and they could get an idea?
So I'm gonna be sharing it with Debbie, who can share. She already has it. The only change I made between this version and what Debbie has is I made some of the font sizes bigger. So she'll be able to share
it
it
with the minutes.
and then I'll see if, and it'll stay with the minutes, which means it will stay in the record and online through that process.
Because I know I would want to make this known to the whole community.
Exactly.
And if there's a way to
And
do that. Without having to email everybody a set of slides.
Of course, like I said, it will stay live through the minutes, and then there is the links here, there is that vacation rental information. Other than some of the information about zoning, that it's applicable to all. So the information, the complaints, all those websites and those links are gonna be available to everyone, for you to share as you need to.
Okay, well, this is a particularly compact.
Yes,
I'll see if there's a spot where we can put it. I haven't looked at that page, but I'll see if there's a way that we can host it.
That'd be nice, because I know
This
there are
really
people
is.
who were considering doing this or in the process of. doing
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
This is a good summary of.
this was a great summary for the,
I'll take a look at what opportunities I have online at my own department and see if we can get this up there.
Thank you.
thank you.
So Cecily, I want to add that I have had the pleasure of working with you in Permit Sonoma on a wide variety of public issues for we'll just call it 8 years. And I am just so impressed with the level of service Permit Sonoma provides. And this is a shining example of it. You work for people, not against the people. And I am very grateful for that. You are personally very dedicated, as is everybody I've encountered at Permit Sonoma, but I feel like I've had the pleasure of interacting with you for quite some time now, and I'm just so thankful for your personal involvement and concern that you bring to our community. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, and I believe we do have a part 2 that may get to some of the information.
Maybe, we'll see.
We'll do some of my photos too.
So, good evening. I'm Kelly Beth Seibel. I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement with Sonoma County Tourism. I was in front of you actually last July. Some of the information is gonna be yes.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sure, yes.
Everybody can-
Yes. So I fear that my presentation is not gonna be as data driven. Hopefully it will be clear, but we will see. And you know.
We'll let you know.
You will, I'm sure, I have no doubt. But really what I'm hoping is that becomes a little bit more of a conversation about how we can do a better job of communicating some of the issues that you all have with our owners and also more importantly with our visitors. Sonoma County Tourism, to go back to your original question about why we don't have the numbers, just to level set, is we are the destination stewardship organization for Sonoma County. So we are a 501c6 nonprofit with a board of directors. We are not a county department. We are a Brown acted organization because we do receive some public dollars, but we operate very differently. So sometimes we get questions about how, where the money is coming from, particularly when it comes to vacation rentals. We have the same questions you do.
What a surprise.
Right? So we became a destination stewardship organization in 2018. There are organizations like ours all over the world. Most of them are known as destination marketing organizations or DMOs. And they are out there to market a place to have tourists or visitors come into their communities. Our board very intentionally changed to becoming the world's first destination stewardship organization because we recognize that we are part of the community. And if we don't look and serve and work with the community, then this is not going to continue to be a place that people want to come and visit. And it's such a reciprocal relationship. So there are many other organizations at this point that have shifted to destination management organizations. But we also know that in Sonoma County, the last thing we want to do is come in and tell any community here how they should be managed. So we are here to help steward and also bring people into the destination. We're funded through 2 main funding streams, one being transient occupancy tax. So this will make a whole heck of a lot of sense, I'm sure, but 1.25% of the first 9% of the TOT that is collected in the unincorporated Sonoma County. So transient occupancy tax or TOT in the unincorporated area of the county is 12%. The first 9% is not I don't want to call it unrestricted dollars, but it is more general fund dollars. The last 4% was Measure L, it funds emergency services. So the county's community investment fund policy says that 1.25% of the first 9% goes to Sonoma County tourism to encourage the continuing reinvestment into marketing and bringing visitors into our economy. Because there is a return on investment for the advertising dollars that we spend of money coming back to the community, both through transient occupancy tax, but also through sales tax. We also have a business improvement area. That's 2% of room revenue countywide, except for the cities of Healdsburg and Sonoma. They opted out when we were founded in 2004 for properties that are in excess of $350,000 a year in revenue. And that's important, particularly for this area, because there are so many vacation rentals. That said, particularly with the shift where vacation rentals are required to have a local property manager, we have a lot of local property management companies that, because of the portfolio that they manage, they do actually collect the BIA and contribute back into to the BIA. So we have about $9.6 million in forecasted revenue for this next fiscal year. You'll see about a third of that is expected to be from transient occupancy tax. We have a little bit of other income that comes through event sponsorships or through our educational programming, through some marketing partnerships that we have. But the primary bulk of our budget is coming from that business improvement area. So just to level set a little bit about where we're seeing, where the tourism landscape is today, and I feel like it changes, it's changed every year. I started at Sonoma County Tourism in December of 2019. You can imagine that 2020 and 2021 was vastly different than any other year that I've been there. But we get numbers about May of every year of the previous year. So these are 2025 numbers. $2.4 billion was spent by travelers coming into Sonoma County. So that's money that they spent in lodging, food, gas, at retailers. This information comes from Dean Runyon and Associates. They're the gold standard in our industry in terms of capturing economic impact, and it's who Visit California also uses. So you can actually go and compare visitor spend across the entire state by county. The industry employs 22,700 people. That's about 1 in 10 jobs in our county is in tourism and hospitality. And for government revenue generated, so that's all those taxes I mentioned, that includes both the state and the local level. $231 million comes into our county from outside the area that goes back into government revenue. This is an impossibly hard slide to read, but it's included. I will share it with Debbie and she can send it out. It is also, I believe this one's available on our website as well, but this essentially, everybody asks me, okay, well, what was the picture pre-COVID versus now? We have definitely surpassed 2019's numbers in terms of spending. This also just has numbers in terms of earnings. So not only, do people come here and spend their money, but this is also that job generation, the amount of money that is generated in paychecks, and also goes through the employment numbers. So we also have now officially surpassed pre-COVID employment in this industry. And then everybody also asks me, okay, well, what about my part of Sonoma County? And unfortunately for you all, it's, going back to that return to source, unincorporated Sonoma County is all lumped together. So you're being lumped in, the numbers here include, your Geyserville and your Kenwoods and your, you kind of everybody, the entire county, that's the unincorporated area. But the unincorporated area of Sonoma County absolutely has the most spend from our visitor dollars. So over $1 billion is coming in just the unincorporated area from visitor spending, and also has the highest employment numbers with 9,650 employees in the unincorporated area in hospitality and tourism. Any questions before I keep going?
Yeah, so given that we know that given that we know the unincorporated part of the county is generating $1 billion in revenue, and given that we probably have a rough idea about how many vacation rentals are in that unincorporated area, what am I missing in that we can't do an approximate allocation of about how much, what the percentage is that's coming from different regions? Am I missing something in the data that doesn't allow for that?
The $1 billion in revenue, that is actual money going out. So that is, I'm going to a restaurant and I'm spending money on my dinner. It's not just lodging.
It's not just lodging.
Yeah.
But it's not granularized at the lodging level?
You'll notice there is a local, tax revenue is for the unincorporated area is $54 million. So yes, we could, so what I can't do is I can't parse out and say, West County is generating X amount. I mean, so because there's a lot of other factors that go into place. This is all tax revenue, so it's sales tax and transient occupancy tax. We do have, from the tax collector's office, how much transient occupancy tax comes into the county, but that is vacation rentals, hotels, campgrounds. I mean, it's all overnight lodging in the unincorporated area. So what I don't have is transient occupancy tax generated by vacation rental, and what I also don't have is by area. We, Sonoma County Tourism, are only given the unincorporated totality of that number.
I see. So there's no coding on where that's coming from.
If it is coded, that is
shared.
information that it would have to come from the tax collectors.
Okay.
So we've been asked, we have been asked, and I've been told historically that number has been provided by geographic area, but it's not information that has ever been in my 6.5 years that I've never seen it from the county.
So who would you ask? How would you get that?
We would go to the tax collector's office, which we have asked.
That's what I thought.
And what does the
tax?
tax collector's office say, just out of curiosity?
We haven't asked a couple of years, but the last time we asked, it was just not information that they had available by, and again, this goes back to the challenges of being unincorporated. There's not, I can say, Santa Rosa can say, we know that there's all this TOT coming in. But even the cities and, when you talk about types of lodging, I don't know that they parse it down to types of lodging.
And also, they don't have any say in where the money.
No, I understand. But if it's not coded going in, it's you're unable to get it coming out.
Well, yes. I mean, there's
You've got.
you wonder what the real objective is.
This was a hot topic in, I believe, 20 or 2021. There was quite a push to get this broken down into zip codes and or regions. It's out there. They have the ability to bring it together. It's just never been done and given.
I've got a really cool AI tool.
That's
It would
what
take
I would
about
do.
45 minutes,
Right.
not 45 days or 45
Right.
weeks.
This might be a future agenda.
I think so.
Intern's project.
Exactly.
We could assign it to an intern.
Yeah.
Financial
Thank you.
intern.
Yeah, this
No,
is helpful.
I will keep going.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I hate it when I say, well, I don't have the answer to that, and I don't know why I don't have the answer to that. But just, I just want to talk for a second about as an organization, our strategic direction. And typically I would come in and say, here's our strategic plan for right now. There are, as you might imagine, challenges. And I did not update this slide from last year. I brought you the same slide last year because nothing has changed. There is still economic uncertainty. And whether that comes from the reduction in international visitation, which is still absolutely a key player. Although I did see an RV the other day that I passed on the freeway that had a Canadian license plate, and that gave me so much hope.
They clearly don't read the news.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
It's the only one. Yeah. We have also heard that Canadians are still coming here, but they just don't tell anybody that they're coming here. But yeah, I agree that we have definitely seen a downshift in that. But economic, we are now with the rising gas prices, we're a drive destination. While we know that is actually shifting, the increase in gas prices is shifting consumer behavior in terms of flights, because flights are going up, and we still don't know if gas prices continue to increase, how that will affect people coming, even doing a road trip. The consumer shifts in the wine industry, again, that is across the board. We are working right now with Visit California. We're looking as an entire state around how do we, this is not just a Sonoma County issue. Consumers, wine consumers have definitely decreased. Alcohol consumption has gone down. We're seeing grapes being pulled out more so in the Central Valley than here, but certainly, that definitely presents challenges. So looking at how we can work with, the larger marketing arm around wine visitation. And then the shortage of demand drivers in Sonoma County. And that sounds really silly to say, because if you look at our events calendar, there are the most amazing events all over our county every weekend. We're very fortunate to live here. There's not just this one thing once a year. But a lot of those are events that locals are, very beloved for locals, and we don't have any large events that bring a lot of people here that are new visitors. So we just have that shortage of demand drivers in Sonoma County. So typically I'd be talking about, well, what is our new strategic direction for the year? We are in the middle of a brand transition. So we intentionally did not release a new strategic plan at the beginning of our fiscal year, which started July 1st. We are looking our brand, in 2018, our tagline became Life Opens Up. Life Opens Up served us very, very well coming out of COVID. But just looking at the changing consumer, looking at how long we've had the brand, we are working to evolve our brand to the next iteration of how we can talk about Sonoma County. Our strategies for the last couple of years and our last strategic plan we had three main strategies: driving the economy, creating a resilient organization and destination. That really plays into, communicating with both visitors and with our partners in lodging around getting through, crisis effectively, and resiliency as a destination. And then also our third strategy is engage the community. So these might change a little bit, but these continue to be really important pillars for who Sonoma County tourism is. So I'm not coming with a new and fancy strategic plan today, but ask me back in a couple months, I'll probably have one. But really what I was asked to talk to you about today was how we work with the visitors around education and how we work with the vacation rental community. So, I'm going to talk very briefly about the things that are up there, but more, I just want to talk about what we're doing now and kind of some of the strategies, and then also get some of your feedback about what else we could be doing. So we do a lot around visitor education, and we are very mindful that how visitors get information before they come to Sonoma County is shifting very, very rapidly with AI. It used to be we could put something up on our website. We knew that our web traffic, we get 2 million visitors a year onto our website. When people are doing itinerary planning, that might be where they start. We now know when we Google something, you get the AI summary at the top, and people are not doing those click-throughs. But what that does mean, where is that information coming from? It's still coming from our website. So it's still incredibly important that we are ensuring that the information that we have online is accurate, up to date, changing, and really, we are paying attention to what is happening in that AI space so that we continue to be very visible. We also have an opportunity on our website itself. We do have an AI tool called Lou. That was Life Opens Up, but it's a chat bot, and it does pick up, we're able to train, to work on training of that. And we've done a lot of training around visitor safety information. And so while someone's not going to go to our website and search, what do I do if there's an evacuation warning? We still want to make sure that it is giving mindful and safe information. And so when we were beta testing as a staff, a lot of people were talking about plan my bachelorette weekend and see what it gave me. And I'm in there going, trying to trip it up. I'm going to float this weekend on the river. Where should I drop in? And seeing if I could, making sure it was giving accurate and safe information. So that's, another important tool for us. The other thing, we do have an app, and I know that we're in an area of the county that doesn't have as accurate cell service as other places. But one of the things that we can do is we can geofence an area, and actually, if someone has our app and has notifications on, we can put in notifications. We can use them for marketing purposes, like, oh, you're near this hotel, go and use this code for a free appetizer at the restaurant. We've also used it for responsible travel messaging. So holiday weekends near the Russian River, reminding people to use the river shuttle. We'll talk about the Caltrans issue out here and how that might be a useful tool as people are coming into the area if you're down to one lane. So there's an opportunity there for pushing out that information through another channel. We also have a partnership with regional parks with Leave No Trace, and continue to put out information around responsible travel through our Leave No Trace partnership. That means that we're in lockstep with regional parks messaging. We continue to work on our relationship with state parks and other land managers on how to push out responsible travel messaging. But because Leave No Trace is a trusted messenger around the world, frankly, people are very used to seeing their 7 principles. We have 7 principles for Sonoma County that are the Leave No Trace principles, but we've written them in a slightly different way. For example, the one around wildfire is very front and center around wildfire safety. It's not buried. And then the other piece is around crisis planning and management. We've done a lot of work in this space and unfortunately have been able to lend some of our expertise that we've learned with other destinations around the country as they've gone through natural disasters. We do have a crisis planning template on our website for any business that wants to go through and doesn't have a crisis plan in place. It should be applicable to kind of any plug and play disaster or crisis that comes up, but it helps them think through some of the things you don't want to be thinking through in the middle of a crisis. Who is media ready? Who, how does your staff get together when communication channels go down? Things like that. We also have a downloadable PDF that we worked on developing with the Office of Emergency Management with the county for vacation rentals specifically. There is information that the vacation rentals are required to post. And when we first developed it, that requirement wasn't in place. So that's changed a little bit, but it still has information so that if someone is not familiar with the area, they understand where, maybe they're not familiar with watch duty. Maybe they're not familiar with what AM radio station they can tune into when everything else isn't working. So we have that available as well. What we've spent time doing though is really working on education of visitors, but also with around vacation rentals with the vacation rental owner and property management community. So we do have a vacation rental committee at Sonoma County Tourism, and if there is someone who has a vacation rental or works with a property manager, we would love to have more members on that committee. But they do meet and we talk through some of these issues and they help give us some best practices about, okay, that is or is not realistic as an owner. The committee chair is Sarah Butaro with Bodega Bay and Beyond, and she manages 90 rentals along the coast and is very good at giving me realistic feedback about what's going to be working. This last year, for the first time, we hosted a vacation rental symposium. So we did a half-day session. We had about 70 registered attendees. We did it hybrid because we do have out of the area owners who wanted to attend. And we had a variety of different topics. We had some marketing topics where we talked about, how people are finding vacation rentals because that landscape continues to change. But we also had the fire district come in and talk about their inspection program. Scott Orr from Permit Sonoma came in and talked about the regulations and, what, as new director of the department, what he was foreseeing would be, kind of his priority. And he also was really great at taking some feedback from owners about what was and wasn't working around communication with the department. We also were able to bring in Nancy Brown, who is in the Office of Emergency Management, to talk a little bit around emergency preparedness. The other thing I will just say about emergency preparedness is that we had, like I said, we've worked with the county. When a disaster happens, we actually have staff that has a seat in the Emergency Operations Center so that we can give out timely information, because oftentimes visitors are going to go to our website or if we will send out emails to our partners, our lodging partners, with accurate information because they don't know necessarily like, who do I call? I don't know how to get a hold of my supervisor. I don't know which county website to go to, but they're used to getting regular communications from us. So we have developed this relationship where we can send out timely, real information that people need to know as they are working with their guests. We also have a regular partner education series and have done sessions on emergency preparedness. Additionally, we do work with owners on what are some best practices around, how people can make a difference in planning their stay. So, yes, most vacation rentals are going to have that binder that guests automatically look for when they check into a vacation rental. But what are some of the other ways that you can communicate with your guests about what their expectations should be when they come here? Those pre-trip reservations, we do have some responsible travel messaging available that can be used as part of a reservation confirmation. How else can we help funnel people to maybe lesser known attractions that aren't gonna be, filling up parking lots and having people park unsafely on the side of the road. How can we encourage people to be responsible travelers if they're gonna spend the day wine tasting, making sure that they understand, what they're, that Uber is not gonna be a, reliable form of transportation if they are doing wine tasting in rural Sonoma County. So,
Kelly, this is,
Yes.
this is absolutely terrific, and I applaud, and I'm sure there are others that feel the same way. I think, in part what prompted the suggestion that we invite you back is, the tragedy in southern Spain where, 20-some largely British tourists did not know how to evacuate, did not necessarily follow protocols, and lost their lives. Now, granted, that's an extreme and hopefully never to be repeated set of circumstances, but I think the way your organization is considering those components, and that's impressive. And also this partnership with with owners of vacation rentals, this notion that it really is stewardship. I don't, not to assume any prerogatives of the chair, but I know we have another presentation.
I'm happy to wrap it up.
And so you've given us a huge amount of information, but if any closing thoughts, and I think we would love to, get access to your deck.
Absolutely. No other closing thoughts except for, always looking for new ideas. I don't always hear all of the pain points of your community because we represent the entire county, and the county's the size of Rhode Island, and your coastline's 55 miles long. Your concerns are valid, and so just know I am always willing to, pick up the phone, come out and meet with you. I will say one of our best partners is our visitor centers, and that's one of the best ways for us to get information, both from a community, but also out to visitors when they're visiting a community. Just appreciate if there's something, and you're like, gosh darn it, like these darn visitors don't know X, Y, Z. I can't say I'm gonna solve the problem, but if we don't know about it, it's impossible for us to communicate it. So please don't ever hesitate to give me a call. Door is always open.
Thank you so very, very much.
Any,
Do you have cards?
Yes, I do.
Any questions from? Cards, yeah.
Excellent presentation. Thank you.
I would ask him, you're responsible for this information, that you would ask them to use the turnouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a law. That's a good one, yeah. Questions from the audience here, yes,
I
on either presentation.
I want for each. I participated in your rebranding workshop where you talked about blue sky.
Yes.
And I went home and it's just utterly clear to me, the blue sky on the coast is utterly. This is our brand.
Yeah.
It's not an event. It's so gorgeous.
Blue ocean, but yes.
But blue sky,
It was blue ocean, yes. So the concept is blue ocean. So what is our
blue ocean.
Yes. We have both here today.
Yeah.
How
do you redefine yourself in a competitive environment? But you compete against each other based on wine tasting? Or who are you really and how should you present yourself?
Yeah, and you know what I would almost argue with that is that we have incredible, beautiful assets, but what we have that I think sets Sonoma County apart, and I say this to someone who has not seen the creative direction whatsoever, so like tomorrow I can walk in our VP marketing and say, what were you saying? But the people in Sonoma County, the makers, the artisans, the passionate individuals, the noise makers, that sets us apart from anybody else in terms of, there are incredible stories here, and they include the stories on the ocean. They include the stories along the river, but it's the people that are makes Sonoma County so busy compared to anywhere.
Really, that makes us that way.
100%. As someone who fell in love with Sea Ranch when I was not even born yet, this is my love affair with Sonoma County started very young at Sea Ranch.
So my question to that is, we had a recent meeting and it was brought up about property owners offering a limited camping rental. People could come and camp on their properties. I guess that's been talked about. And is that, how does this tie into what you talked about? Is it an opportunity?
It is a totally separate program. It was part of the ag, I'm sorry, questions to us?
No.
You guys-
Just answer the
Okay, just want to make sure.
You're on the floor.
Making sure we got the right procedures. Anyway, so it was directed to us on June 2nd to look into, potential low impact camping, which is a legislation that was passed under the state and possible applications in Sonoma County. It is, while we do have the benefit of already having a short-term rental ordinance and license program, it is a separate project, separate program and not likely to follow the same standards. But that project is just now starting. I assure you, you will hear from us again before it is done.
And potentially subject to TOT.
Yes.
And that's tied into the ag element. Is it in the LCP? Is that correct? And then they're working on the ag element and the general plan with the same concept?
So it will likely be sooner than general plan time horizons of 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So this is a shorter term ordinance now that would likely come forward. Yes, it has ties to be in the coastal zone. It's unclear if that ordinance is happening immediately or later at the same time. We don't know yet. Like I said, directed on June 2nd from the board as a result of the ag ad hoc working group meetings. So
Is there a place on your website that has updated information about that?
right now, I don't even know that there is yet,
Okay.
but it is something that we're just now starting to work on. So that information will continue to become available. That may be an appropriate topic for like a report out at a later date.
So that's AB 518.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all of that.
Thank you so
Good
much.
presentation.
Very, very helpful.
Tracy, do we have any online?
No hands are raised online.
Great.
All right,
Nothing. Right.
moving right along.
And your tech is all set up. You don't need me, right? Let me. Hi, Tony.
Hi.
That's Tony.
Tony,
I have some battery packs for you.
what's that?
I have some battery packs for you in my car for Bethany at Timco Fire.
Oh, nice.
So.
Yeah, there was
Don't
12
leave.
of the 20.
Yeah, but don't leave for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I talked to Mike about that, the TOT tax. Him and Linda Hopkins researched it and it was a pain in the butt to find the information. He had to go through the tax assessor. And it still wasn't real specific.
Great.
Hey, good evening. I'm Kathy Spiker, WRNM 270, GMRS and amateur radio license both. I'm the public information officer for the North Bay Communications Cooperative, which Tony is the CEO of.
I'm the chief radio officer, the CRO, North Bay Communications Cooperative. You guys might remember me from a few months back. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, so we're here tonight because you guys, wanted more information about, GMRS radio, for emergency communications. So I'm gonna do a brief slide presentation and, then I'll talk in depth about GMRS in particular. So, weak conduit, you guys are all probably pretty familiar with, closing the digital divide in your community. So weak conduit has been, active in extending broadband along the North Sonoma coast. And North Bay Communications Cooperative is is kind of a child of that organization. They are our funding arm. We are also supported by the Department of Public Infrastructure. So we were founded how many years ago now?
NBCC? 5?
Yeah, it's at least that. Okay, so in particular, Tony found, well, I could let you speak for yourself too, for the reasons why you decided that it was really necessary to found an organization that was specifically geared towards neighborhood and community communications in times of disaster.
It was fear. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was trying to, it was in Santa Rosa, I think, and it was Tubbs, yeah, and I think we had our phones and everything was down for 2 weeks. And I could not get a hold of my wife, so that the bulb went on. I was like, why is it like this?
So it became clear that county infrastructure for communications was very robust. But communications infrastructure for neighborhoods was almost non-existent. And so that was why our organization was founded. And we have a number of communications methods and infrastructures in place at this time that we've built up over the years. So I'm going to talk about the NBCC project overview, NBCC team briefly, radio training, community nets, NBCC repeaters, and our next steps moving forward. So overview, I've already kind of told you why the North Bay Communications Cooperative was organized, and we support Sonoma County neighborhoods seeking redundancy in communications because redundancy is key to have a very robust communication system. You can't rely on just one thing. People want the simple answer, and the simple answer is just, you know, just give me a radio, just give me a cell phone. Well, that doesn't work because each communication infrastructure platform is subject to failure. And so you need to have those multiple methods in place. In particular, utilizing a GMRS, which is General Mobile Radio Service, FRS, which is Family Radio Service, and ham, or Amateur Radio Technology, NBCC ensures reliable communication when all else fails, i.e. when cell towers go down. You know, we all know what happens. So the project goals were to improve emergency communication, but also to educate communities and connect communities and neighbors, because yeah, we can all have a cell phone, we can all have a radio, but if you're in isolation with that particular communications infrastructure, who are you to talk to? You know, you need to get used to talking to each other. It's pretty common knowledge, I'm assuming, that that in a disaster or in an emergency, especially on a grand scale, that the services that we have come to rely on are not going to be able to handle the volume. And so we need to be able to rely on each other, rely on our neighbors. When we need to educate each other, we need to know each other. So part of our project was to program and deliver free radios to communities. That is limited by how much money we're able to fundraise. And also to train communities how to use their radios, because otherwise that's just another brick, right? And also to create community nets. Those community nets are that infrastructure and networks, okay? So NBCC team is a coalition of individuals representing various organizations. So we each bring different expertise and passion for advancing the NBCC mission. Our supporting organizations include We Conduit, as I said, that's our funding arm. The County of Sonoma Department of Public Infrastructure, Johannes Hovertz has been tremendously instrumental in advancing our cause. He finds grant money in a lot of different places, and without him, we would not have the robust repeater system that we currently have. Also, the Auxiliary Communications Service, or ACS, which is the county's auxiliary communications volunteers. We are all amateur radio operators, and we are on call to be called by the Department of Emergency Management in times of need for providing communication conduit for places like food banks and shelters and other organizations that need to have connection to DEM that would not otherwise have that connection. Also, Sonoma County Radio Amateurs, which is the local amateur radio club in Sonoma County, and local community neighbors and nets. So public service, NBCC provides its community with access to free emergency communications network. There is no cost to use the repeaters in our network. They are provided both by public infrastructure and also by individuals who pay for those repeaters out of their own pockets. And because we all believe that it's very important to have adequate communication in an emergency or, and even just for day-to-day life. So
Do you have a map of where the repeaters are? I mean, I guess what I'm really curious about, what is the scope of the coverage? And maybe you'll get to that, but.
80%.
Indeed, I will.
And we do have
Really
a very
impressive.
detailed
That's
map that we've been
impressive.
working with public infrastructure on using ArcGIS.
Mhm.
And I believe the PRND might be involved too.
Yeah. So, we have a local repeater network, and I am gonna get to a map in just a little bit, provides over 80% coverage. The majority of the coverage that we provide is in North and West County because of the, topography there and the challenges, you know. You're aware of that. And we're all volunteers. North Bay Communications Cooperative is entirely supported by community volunteers invested in their community. So, radio training. One of the things that I wanted to tell you about today is that we have conducted quite a number of training sessions for members of the public. We provided Valfang UV 5G GMRS radios. And I'm gonna get some out in just a few minutes here to pass around so that you guys can see them. The reason why we picked this radio is because it's easy to learn and to use, even for those people who are not familiar with using radios. We provided free trainings with complimentary radios. Again, that's dependent on funding. And some of that funding is regionally tied to whatever grant money has become available.
TOT.
The kits that we give out include a battery, charger, antenna, headphones, and a clip on the back of the radio, including the body of the radio itself. They are fully programmed. We have these programming sessions where we've done, 500 to 700 radios at a time. It's really a trip. So they're fully programmed to the NBCC repeater network, which, as I said, is free to use 24/7. It's different than any other communications infrastructure. So if you're not already aware of it, the FCC allocates, that's the body, the governmental body that's responsible for allocating different frequencies to different groups, okay? So the cell phone companies pay for those frequency allocations, and that's why we then pay the cell phone companies to use their locked down repeater system, which is cell towers. Every single one of us carries a radio in our back pocket or in our sleeve pocket that every one of those is a radio with a little tiny antenna on the inside, but that's a locked down repeater system. We have to pay to use it. This is a free repeater system that we can use with these GMRS radios. Radios are equipped with a flashlight, an emergency siren, FM radio for situational awareness, and NOAA. So all of those things can be accessed on this one approximately $17 radio. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, even if you have to buy it yourself, it's
Even if-
amazingly inexpensive.
So, okay, one of the things we emphasize is community nets. A net is a network. And basically it's a practice session. What happens is when we have these training sessions and we give out these free radios, people are very attentive, right? They come, they get this free radio. They're super excited. They go home, they're like, okay, I've got this radio. I learned how to use it. Now I'm all set in an emergency. Well, a lot of these people, guess what they do? They put that radio in a drawer. 6 or 8 or 10 months down the road, when something happens, they're like, oh, there's that radio that I got at that free training. Where did I put that? You know, and if they find it, if they remember which drawer they put it in, they get it out and they don't remember how to use it because that is not muscle memory, right? It's been a while. Or probably it's dead because radios need to be charged up just like cell phones do. I mean, we're all used to putting our cell phone on a charger every night or every other night, right? Okay, so if you have a net or a network of you and your neighbors that are involved in a weekly or bi-weekly practice session, that means that you have muscle memory. You remember how to use the buttons on that radio, right? You remember how to turn it on. You remember how to key it up. And guess what? If you're checking in every week with other people, you get to know their names, you get to know their call signs, you get to know the sound of their voices. That builds and creates community, even if you're not seeing those individuals, because a lot of people are housebound too. So you know those individuals by the sound of their voice. And that's really powerful, I think, in an emergency. So we're educating residents about the importance of GMRS and ham radios. So we're not limiting ourselves to, once again, to one communications infrastructure. We're training residents about how to use their radios, and we're establishing weekly nets for check-ins for ongoing training. In addition to the other things that I've already mentioned, during those weekly nets, you're learning radio protocol, okay? It's pretty basic. It's not difficult. It's just being polite, and it's learning who goes first on the radio, and it's learning that only one person can talk at a time because radio infrastructure does not allow for more than one person to talk on the same channel at the same time. So everybody's got to take a turn, okay? So by establishing those weekly nets, people understand what that protocol is and how it is you conduct yourself on the radio. Okay, so this is that map that you were asking about? Yes.
Is there a licensing requirement for the radio holder?
Yes, there is. So part of the whole deal with radios, there are 3 different radio systems that the FCC has allocated for individuals to use for public use. Okay, first one is FRS, Family Radio Service. That's your basic walkie-talkie. It's got a fixed antenna on it. They limit how much power those radios can transmit on. And it's really effective if you're communicating, you know, within a block or so. Very, very much line of sight. Cannot use a repeater system for FCC regulation. And requires no license. Okay, that's your basic walkie-talkie. The second service, and the one that I'm talking about today, is GMRS, or General Mobile Radio Service. So a number of years ago, they changed the requirements slightly, and they said, okay, we recognize the need for citizens to be able to communicate with each other in neighborhoods in an emergency. We also recognize that not everybody is going to put in the time to study for a test to get an amateur radio license. So they created this middle ground, and that's the General Mobile Radio Service. GMRS allows the use of repeaters, also allows higher power for those radios, you know, up to 50 watts for a mobile unit. So it's more power means that you can get your signal out further. Also allows for removable and changeable antennas. So a big part of the ability for a radio to transmit is its antenna, the size of its antenna, and how high you can get it. So, so by allowing a radio that has a removable antenna, you can replace it with something that's a lot more effective. But for that extra power and that extra capability of being able to remove that antenna, there's a price to pay, and that price is that you have to get a license. The license is relatively easy to get. You have to get a federal registration number, which is the number that replaces your social security number in the FCC's system. It's free to get. After you get that FRN number, you can go on the FCC's website once again and get your GMRS license. It's a simple form. You sign it, you say that you're not gonna do bad stuff with this license. And, you pay them $35. That license is then good, and they'll let you a call sign within a day or two, by email. That license is good for 10 years. And it's good for not only you, unlike an amateur radio license that's specific to you and your call sign, okay? That license is good for 10 years and it's good for your whole family. Okay, so, you, your spouse, your kids, they, I think purposely, loosely define what a family member is. So, so multiple family members can pick up that radio and utilize it and they're all everybody is using the same pulse. Okay? Okay, very good. So, and then of course there's amateur radio where you have to take a test. And pay a $35 fee. So, okay, so this is, so you were asking earlier about the repeater network. This is actually an older map. So this shows our first 22 repeaters that were part of the NBCC network. This gave over 80% coverage. We're up closer to 30 repeaters now and increasing all the time. Our current project involves repeaters on Sonoma Mountain, well, like several years. There's a lot of politics involved in getting into some of these repeater sites. They are owned by other entities, some of whom want payment for, accessing those sites. We rely as much on public sites and creating MOUs for long-term establishment of these sites as much as possible. But there have been instances too, where we must rely on individuals who have high sites, like what you're talking about, that have their own private repeaters that they make available to the public for public use. They don't lock them down, which I think is pretty amazing.
Can you speak to the range, the signal?
So the range of a repeater varies a lot.
The power output and.
So let's talk for just a quick second about what a repeater is. So a repeater repeats a signal, okay? We put them up on high locations so that then that way more people can access them. When you have, in West and North County, you have those deep gullies and things like that, you're not gonna get line of sight communication. You're not gonna get simplex communication. So you have to have those repeaters. In some of our early tests between the site in Petaluma, so that's on it's the very last repeater that's shown on the map there. So in our early tests, we were able to communicate with Grand Valley through that repeater.
These two default areas, these two repeaters. And Cloverdale too.
So some of our repeaters we've put on lower power because you don't want to step on anybody else's toes, okay? One of our repeaters was actually able to communicate with Mount Diablo.
Yeah.
We had to turn it down.
Well, Stockton, I've had to decommission a few repeaters because they reach.
Right.
Very far.
Do you have any current projects that directly affect the Bodega Bay area in play?
We have for
And where would those be?
years, we've been encouraging.
No, but do you have anything specifically in play for the greater Bodega Bay area?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Chris, who is part of the Bodega Bay CERT here. Do you have specific repeaters that you guys use for GMRS here?
Yeah, the Seaview repeater is the primary one in this area. And it connects like all the way up the coast.
No,
It also.
that's Ham.
It's Ham, yeah.
She was at
GMRS,
GMRS.
GMRS specifically, I'm actually not.
Have you guys dabbled with Pole Mountain Unis?
Units, yeah.
It reaches into Bodega quite
Yeah.
nicely. There's a few spots that it doesn't reach very well.
Yeah, GMRS, I can talk
Are
about.
there any proposed that are in play that aren't online yet?
Not that I know of.
There's nothing going on at the lab
At the
So-
Bodega Bay Marina.
so-
at the marina.
Our
Marina.
CERT has distributed walkie-talkies throughout the neighborhoods. And that's primarily what we use locally within the neighborhoods. And that served us very well. We preceded your network by a number of years.
Yeah.
With a very robust ham network here that Chris leads and helps lead. Then we added the walkie-talkies for local neighborhood communication. We don't use GMRS here on an organized basis. There might be individuals with it. But we basically use the emergency communications through ham. And then with the addition of the walkie-talkies in neighborhoods.
Well, let me ask, would this fill?
Well, I
that
think Chris
gap?
has a piece of this.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
and,
Yeah.
and so the combination of the ham radios. Every search shed
Mhm.
in our area has one of those stations and has a designated ham. That operates that and connects to either the Bodega Bay Fire Station. Or through ACS, like anywhere else within the county. So every search shed is one of those hubs that is operated by a licensed ham.
Okay.
But within this, in the shed area, the family radios, the walkie-talkies are the communication mode locally, and we have tested out the coverage, and that fulfills the purpose in an emergency for have super local communications that then get elevated to the professional first responder.
Okay, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for filling in that gap. Is there a plan to put a GMRS repeater at the Marine Lab?
Not currently,
Okay, thank you.
but we would like for there to be.
Gotcha.
We were talking about it, yeah, we were talking to the Marine Lab, about possibly doing something out there. But we've never actually had anyone from Bodega ask us for support. This is just something we talked about as being like, hey, this would be cool if we did that. But we're here, because of certain situations that don't make it all the way to where you need them to go. This whole neighborhood communication is so that neighborhood people actually have a way to communicate and get the resources they need, because our government has fallen short on numerous occasions. Even our ACS team, because of red tape, it has collapsed in on itself. So we're here saying, you guys band together as neighborhoods. You know, you can use GMRS, FRS, CB radio, cup and string, bullhorns, whatever it takes, honk your horn. We're just here saying, hey, you know, coordinate with each other, and we have things that we've learned over time, which work better, which don't work well, or which work for this or that.
So is there a connection to ham and GMRS, or do
No.
they conflict with each other?
They do not conflict with each other. They are different bands.
Right.
Different segments of the radio spectrum
Got it.
that have been designated by the FCC, and no, they don't overlap.
So you could potentially have somebody that has dual licensing that could bridge.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
It's a
Okay,
wonderful
and that's
idea.
what
But
we
they
would
don't
like.
interoperate.
We do not.
And would you
So that's
block
the-
each other's
that's
signal on a tower?
The key.
Okay.
First, because they're on different bands, they're not going to interact,
Thank you.
interoperate. So
That's exactly right. So this is something that we've been trying to do through Department of Emergency Management for maybe 5-6 years now.
Okay.
Because there are quite a number of us who are dual licensed. The idea is to create a communications infrastructure where neighborhoods are communicating with each other to both to get help, but also for situational awareness.
Right.
And that then there's a designated ham, just like what George was saying, in each neighborhood or in each block, in each small section of the community, who is then feeding that information up into the DEM.
Got it. Thank you
Okay.
very, very much. We need to talk before this is over.
Yeah, I think this is really, it's a real educational opportunity for us and those of us, I mean, we're certainly, you know, local residents are very well aware and very appreciative of what CERT does, and it allows a lot of us to sleep better. So it's not about, you know, disregarding or disbanding or diminishing that incredibly valuable capability, but I mean, we're a mobile society now, and, you know, great if we have the big one, and I'm, you know, in my home, I know where the search shed is and all the rest, but you know, if my wife is between here and Jenner, and, you know, I mean, it's, as you said at the outset, it is a layered approach, and I think, you know, some of us heard your presentation in Jenner a couple of months ago, and came back and asked folks here about that. I mean, person in the street kind of stuff. And there was not a lot of awareness. And so I think this is super helpful. And I think that, you know, the organizations that have committed huge energy and resourcing to providing a safety net, you know, are in a wonderful place to help, you know, potentially expand their reach. Now, I'm not presuming anything, but I'm not hearing a conflict. It's sort of additive. It could be additive. I guess that's my takeaway. I don't know. Is that, I see a few nods. It could be additive. Okay. Great.
So one of the other things that I'm going to tell you about is that there are two other communications infrastructures that you might look into. One is LoRa, which stands for long range, LORA. So look it up online. Basically, it's these teeny tiny radios that are good for, let me see if I can find that one. And I'll pass that stuff around.
And this is our way of kind of bringing this
Here.
closer to you easier
Yeah.
because you can use your cell phone.
Okay, so these little tiny radios are,
Oh.
they're cute. So these pair with your cell phone via Bluetooth. It's an independent system. These are not only radios, but they're little nodes, okay? The way that a mesh system works is that every node is connected with every other node. The more nodes that you have that are out there in the community, the more connectivity you have and the further out it can go. These pair with your cell phone. They have a removable antenna. They are super low power, 1/10 of a watt. They require no license, and they allow you to text message with other people through your phone using that and no cell service. Okay, so that's super cool.
So where is that mesh going to?
I'm sorry?
Is it going through the cellular system or is
It
it
is not
going
going
through
through.
radio?
No, it's going through that.
Going through each other.
You
So they have to be
create,
sort of close.
yes.
Yes, but also, Department of Public Infrastructure has been installing repeater type nodes in key locations. And so we have really good coverage right now for LoRa through, there are two different services, Meshtastic, two different apps for your phone. One is Meshtastic, the other one is Mesh Core. Mesh Core is newer and is seeming to be a more robust system. Okay.
So would this, an application of this, would that be, off hiking somewhere remotely? I have my cell phone and I'm getting no signal, but I have the Lily Go.
It's possible.
But I
Okay.
want to be able to communicate with my spouse as we're out hiking if we get separated. And so he and I each have one of these nodes paired with our phone. We get separated, we're in a geographical area such that those two nodes can talk to each other. Okay,
And the range is, depending on the topography.
the range
It could be
is
miles.
variable.
Line of sight.
Okay, line of sight only. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They operate on a 950 megahertz
Okay,
frequency, which is pretty common.
yeah,
Okay.
I know it very well.
So that's where
So,
that mesh is real important,
Okay,
where, you
yeah,
know, if
exactly.
there's other nodes in between you and the person you're trying to talk to.
Right,
It'll help.
right, okay.
so that's an additional communications infrastructure, but then, one additional one is actually part of the amateur radio network. So one of the things that Chris and I and Ed Witz have been working on with the, Marin Amateur Radio Society, North Bay Area Mesh is a amateur radio network. It's called Arden, Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. They've been setting up nodes here in Bodega Bay. So we already had an established node at the Marine Lab. Actually, we've got 3 there. And then we had one at, no, 2 at Dillon Beach, water tower. And then we have one at Mount Barnaby. So with those 3 nodes, you have connectivity from Bodega Bay to the greater mesh network, okay? The Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network works on amateur radio frequencies. It uses off-the-shelf Wi-Fi type hardware that's reflashed with a different firmware, the Arden firmware, which is free and open source. And that creates an internet that is not connected to the internet. It creates an independent network. Okay, so those nodes, once again, are connected to each other. The more nodes that you have, the more connectivity that you have, okay? We've created we're in the process of creating a backbone system, which is that Dillon Beach to Bodega Bay to Mount Barnaby, okay? And then there are a number of others I can show you on a map if you'd like. But then within Bodega Bay, we have these downlinks. And one of them that they set up today is up on the hill above the golf course.
That's
Okay.
what I was wondering about, the maintenance shed.
Maintenance shed. And then I'm not sure if you've set up the one at Dorn Beach Park yet. Okay,
So that's Arden, that's the little node, that's not GMRS.
right. So that's actually a bigger node. So this little one, so there are 2 different mesh networks. The little one is only good for text messaging.
Got it.
Okay, the bigger one for the Arden network is a very robust network, can carry amateur frequencies. And one of the things that we've been using it for is called WinLink. WinLink is radio email.
So you're gonna be a test?
No.
Okay, all right, no, I mean, this is great stuff though, seriously, I love it.
Email, okay, so basically from the fire department, we can use a computer. It's connected to the Arden network with a node, okay? We can send situational reports and requests to the fire department from different field stations. Okay, here, I'm gonna show you.
I think I think that we should have a very specific community meeting on this, potentially at the harbor.
So I'm gonna stop there on this, and I'm going to get something.
Yeah, the
And
Arden
again, I think I know our audience has been, and you
Okay.
all have been very
Oh, so
patient,
sorry.
but
That's okay.
I'm just, you know,
Let me close with one
probably
thing.
got another 10 minutes or so to.
MBCC is really just here to help. You know, we're not here to tell you how to do anything. We're not here to fill a void. We're not here to create this infrastructure like the CERT team here has. We're just here to help neighborhoods communicate and then also bridge the gap from the neighborhood to emergency services, a food bank, first aid, whatever they might need.
So can I ask a question? You're describing this third mechanism.
I would just forget about Arden.
But the Arden network is not it's not a typical consumer
Correct.
focused. It is another, if you will, another backup system for what I'll call the professionals.
It really is a government driven situation.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so from
Support the
a,
government.
right, from a
Not really.
consumer, man, woman in the street, kid in the street
They're
perspective,
not gonna be
it
able,
really is,
you can
it really is the,
talk to these guys.
the local radio, the
Okay.
GRM.
Bodega CERT has gone, like, taken a little step and bridged that gap a little bit
okay.
by having radios out in the neighborhood, and they have that infrastructure they can use.
Which is great to know, but it's
Great to know.
for the typical consumer, typical resident, the GMRS
MRS.
is probably the most.
And it's not just GMRS, remember, it's LoRa, GMRS, FRS, CB
No,
radio.
I get that, but I think that we are familiar with the walkie-talkie, I mean, the FMRS. But I think this is another level of reach, if you will.
Right.
And that's why it's super interesting.
And you know, what's interesting is with that radio, you could talk to your wife from Jenner.
So the two radios that I've given you to pass along. One of them is that same radio that I showed you earlier, the UV5G, that's the lighter weight one with the smaller screen. Recently, this other radio, the UV5G Plus, has become available, and so we have any future radios that we purchase for distribution will be that UV5G Plus. It's got a larger battery by about 1,000 amp hours. And then it's a more robust radio. It's got a little bit better antenna and it's got a larger screen. You guys could probably see that. So, and it's backlit. In addition to that, UV5G Plus is USB-C rechargeable. So it's really easy to find a charging port for that, as opposed to the other one, which has to sit in a cradle.
That's good.
What's this retail?
We're getting them for $23. We buy them in bulk from China.
Yeah.
Great.
And then we sit down and we have a programming party and,
Yeah.
you know, program a whole bunch of them.
There's
I mean, they take
radios.
a few minutes.
There's radios as cheap as $8 a piece that will work with the repeaters.
Thank you very much.
Question?
Annapolis, I see there's no repeaters
Yeah.
in Annapolis, and that country is really rough and a lot of forest.
Mhm.
There's not a possibility they will work there.
Okay, so yes, your radio will still work there. It will work, instead of working through a repeater, it will work simplex. Think just radio to radio, okay? The reason why that GMRS radio is still gonna be better than an FRS or a walkie-talkie is because it's got more power and it's got the ability to change out the antenna. And so even if you don't have direct line of sight, because radios, radio waves don't go through mountains, okay? And they don't go up over hills unless you have a repeater. But if you have, you know, a short distance, and what we're talking about here is neighborhood communications, okay? And so if you're talking about radio communications in a neighborhood, you don't have to have a repeater. And in fact, one of the things that we advocate for in our nets is for people to check in both on a simplex frequency, because then you know how line of sight your communication is and how many neighbors you can get to, okay? No repeater or anything like that. And check in on a repeater, okay? So that you know what that communications infrastructure looks like for you and your neighborhood, all right? Because guess what? Repeaters can burn up, okay? They're on those high mountain sites and it's happened. You know, we lost a repeater through SCRA in the glass fire and had to replace it to the tune of about $8,000. So, but it was important enough to us, it was important communications infrastructure to us that we went on ahead and replaced it. We went through those steps. So, so just because you don't have a repeater in an area does not mean that you don't have communications. And if people conduct nets and they conduct these simplex nets, okay, just radio to radio, you can contact her and she can contact the person that's over the ridge, even if you can't contact that person over the ridge. You create this network to where you can do a relay. And you can have that communications infrastructure in your.
We have a repeater as far north as Timber Cove. And then we're working with folks up in Mendo. I think when Manchester, they put something in at the high school. So it's creeping together, if you will. But I think you guys, if you have a community, you know, this is where we encourage you guys to establish that simplex. If you need a repeater for area wide coverage, we can come in and help you establish something like that, maybe up a cliff. the dump, there might be a good spot, and we know the director of public infrastructure, so, you know.
Yeah.
this guy.
Yes, you do, Jaquanis.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
You're very
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Helpful.
These people that will be hanging around for a few minutes if you want to talk to them informally. But I think it's number one thing.
The most important thing about all this is we're here to help this not collapse in on itself,
Right.
because it will if we go rogue on this.
Right.
So,
What's your question, Scott?
The map of the repeaters, and Ken pointed to this, and I just wanted to add to it. That section of the county, the northwest, is basically left out of consciousness.
Yeah.
And Mohart Ridge, Annapolis Mountain, Moonraker would be good locations, there are towers there.
Big Rock.
we have one on more, actually gonna move it to this.
So I'm at the top edge of that signal and kind of being not heard that well. But I have a base station and I'm on top of the ridge. And during that stormy night of lightning from Myers Grave Fire, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
I put the scanner on while I was sleeping, trying to sleep, and listening to Redcom and listening to tactical channels, and I knew what was happening.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
don't have to talk, you can just listen.
That's a
Okay.
really, really good point, and something that I forgot to mention, that when we program these radios, we don't just program them with the channels that you can talk on.
Right.
We program them with those channels that you can only listen to. And we do have all of our radios programmed with Redcom and LNU and the main dispatch for Sonoma County. And as well as NOAA radio and FM radio stations.
You don't need a
All of
license
that.
to listen.
No license.
That is great.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Welcome.
Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I would like to, at this point, during the meeting,
Let's just ask
if
there's any public comment.
okay, go ahead.
Tracy, is there any public comment from online?
No hands raised online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next meeting is in September and we're tentatively looking at Sea Ranch. And remember, you can Zoom if you need to. So that's great. Great meeting. Is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Minutes of the other referred to.
Thank you.
No, but I'm giving my. Words.
Well,
Me too.
I thought you-